What do we take away from them, right? So you're watching the U.S. Open this weekend, and obviously you have the ladies, and Serena's done what Serena's done, and then you have this amazing match that Nadal plays, and whatever it took. I mean, obviously he's right there with Federer. What's inside his head? What's inside the heads of he and Federer and Serena and Tiger that you talk about? That's just elusive to the rest of us.
Here's where everything breaks down. Okay, the idea of trying to teach people something, because you asked a similar question with Rory last time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go anywhere. What are you going to do? I think that this compulsion, no matter how noble it may be, this compulsion, this idea to teach the masses that look at what Tiger feels inside. You can do that too. Now, let me say right away, I believe anybody can do anything. So I'm never going to be the person who writes that you can't be Tiger Woods. That to me is offensive when people write that, and everyone writes that. You're not Tiger Woods. You're not X and Y and Z. And of course you're not, but you can be your own version of greatness, which can be better than Tiger Woods. I don't put anyone on a pedestal. Having said that, though, the idea of let's talk about what that person did or thinks or whatever it is, and then let's tell that to the masses so that they can internalize it and learn from that. That doesn't go anywhere, Mo. That's not real. That's just sprinkling fairy dust. Nothing works that way. So if there's something to take away, it isn't to put someone on a pedestal and say, follow his 7 habits. That's crap. If there's something to take away, it is that the greatness arrives from an internal, undeniable knowing that one belongs there. And that's where it comes from. Not that you should get it, not that you're wrong for not having it. The moon comes out at night, okay? Dark is black. The sun is bright, okay? There's no, this entire self-improvement philosophy that you have a habit of going down so that we can help people, it doesn't go anywhere. It's a waste of time. I'm not interested in helping anybody. I'm here because I enjoy speaking about the truth. This is the truth. No, you shouldn't do it. No, you shouldn't copy anyone. No, you shouldn't follow anyone. It is not about that. It is about looking inside yourself and seeing, where are you, not where should you be.
So let me ask you then, how do you recommend, do you think people can learn to be great?
It depends what you mean by that. Do you mean by that, or if a person has the DNA for greatness, that and he has the receptivity for wanting to learn the truth, that person can imbibe learnings and teachings that, given his already profound momentum by way of his DNA, can get him over the top? Yes. Do I believe that someone who doesn't already have the DNA for greatness, primarily by means of desire, and that person you can sprinkle or you can give the same information to or teachings to, and he will become great? No.
All right, but I want to talk about the people that you refer. You said, hey, we all have the seeds of greatness inside of us.
Yes. Okay, we all have the seeds for greatness. However, that is theoretical to 99.999% of people in the world, okay? That is real to the remaining 26, okay? So although it is technically real for everyone, it is a gift from nature. It is every human's birthright to be great and world-class in what they do. They've all been given a talent. The practical reality is that will never be realized, because for whatever reason, that internal knowing beyond theory has not been reached by 99.999.
Sure, and I get it. I get that.
Therefore, it's irrelevant for them. So it's only available for the 26.
So for those 26, all all right, who were committed to going inside and doing the type of immersion.
Don't say work. Don't say work.
The immersion, I'm not going to say work, the immersion that it takes to really understand themselves and understand what it takes to at least have some of those seeds sown. How are they starting to, what kind of questions are we asking ourselves internally so we can keep getting deeper?
So don't say we. It has
the
to
26. I'm talking about the 26.
Okay. So the 26. Okay. So the most important thing that one of the 26 could do, or the group of 26 could do, is what they must do, what is non-negotiable, if they wish to preserve the DNA which allows them to live inside that knowing, is to completely divorce themselves from the culture. And I will also say that the 26 likely, perhaps possibly, already have had inklings over the years that the people that surround them, that the culture and the coaching and the institutionalizations and all of the information and everything that surrounds them in their particular sphere of profession is nonsense. However, they have never been given the permission to completely set it all aside and have it confirmed for them that they are right. Their suspicions are correct. It is, in fact, nonsense. That, I think, is the greatest hurdle and perhaps the most effective hurdle to be able to cross. Because the 26 often live inside of a purgatory, which is they know that they're great and they know that they're going to be great, but their greatness is limited by the anchors that are placed at the bottom of the ocean, by the culture which surrounds them, which is always definitively wrong.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk about permission, the 26, and I want to assume put myself in that category, do we give ourselves that permission that you're talking about? Because we're obviously not getting it externally.
I think giving yourself the permission is absolutely the ultimate way, and some do. The ones who don't generally need it from another, and on some subconscious level, they have been waiting for that permission for a long time and never have received it. But yes, the ultimate way is to give it to yourself.
And what does it take for me to do that? Because last time we talked about coaching, right? And you also had a wonderful discourse about the coach and the teacher. And one of the things I take away from that is you saying something like the teacher who needs a student to succeed will ultimately fail, right? It's that desire to want it more for them than they do for themselves.
Yes.
So what does it take then if I can't give it to myself internally, and I do need that coach? What am I looking for from her or him?
Permission.
Why am I going to believe them and not believe myself? What the hell is missing?
Yeah. I think we as human beings have within us certain receptors for truth, and our mind does not understand it oftentimes, but our feelings do. And so it is very often the case that if you hear something of truth, that the human being will say, I can't explain it, and it doesn't even make sense, but I can just feel that that's true. And that's my answer to your question. So the more that a person gives himself permission to divorce himself from the norms and the cultures, the more that he will give more credence to the things, to the voices inside of him, as opposed to the voices outside of him.
I know you have given yourself permission. Do you listen to anybody else?
Yes, in coming across some of the words of the ancient Eastern masters, in from the Tao and from many of the ancient China, ancient Japan. There are absolute truths that are very inspiring to me. So yes, those are people. It's not a matter of listen. There's nothing to do, but in having come across those words, recognize them as being truth. But is there anyone that I listen to or follow? I'm always, if there's something that I'm interested in, I'm looking for the person who is the truth speaker of that field. And so
how do you define truth speaker? Like when you say truth speaker, how does that look like?
You just know. You just know. When you read an article, you know if it's coming at you from an angle or not. I can tell you usually in the first paragraph if someone has an angle or not. And so whatever. See, as long as someone has a stance, right, which says this is what I want you to believe, and this is what I want to convince you of, and here's my evidence, and that's usually false. It really is. I think truth comes about when someone just discusses something and says, almost in the vein of, this is kind of the way it is, and I don't need you to believe me, and I don't get anything if you do believe me, and I don't even want you to believe me, and don't even do what I say. When you get that kind of feeling, you generally move towards the truth. That direction, as opposed to here's the 5 steps and all this. So it's a feeling. It's a feeling. I can tell in talking to someone that someone who's relatively quiet and just says things as they are, and doesn't really have an angle to convince you of. I think the desire to convince is the greatest, perhaps, marker of fraudulence.
So is the opposite of that, or is a better approach the desire to understand? Because you always talk about freedom coming about by way of understanding. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I think that the understanding is demonstrated by the writer. And if the writer demonstrates a desire to understand, he's generally more in the direction of truth than one who tries to noticeably teach.
Why do you say that man's greatest pain comes in the form of relationships, which I assume is about giving and taking?
Because, if you look at relationships, they're fundamentally false. Relationships are disingenuous because they're all based upon an exchange. They're all based upon a needing to be fulfilled. They're all based upon a give and take. They're all based upon it's transactional, even on an emotional level. It is transactional.
But nobody will tell you that.
Of course not. No one is going to even allow themselves to believe that. Because people like nice things. People like plastic flowers all over the place. So why would anyone do that? Anything that approaches anything which is, quote, perceived as negative or dark and not rosy and bumper stickerish is not on anyone's menu. So, and nor should it be. No one needs to do that. I'm not criticizing that they should do that. It doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is to find the truth, to see the way things really are, not because that's good, but because in seeing the way things really are, then that is what moves us towards freedom. That is what moves us towards arriving at the very things that we are seeking through relationships and success and money and pride and ego and all of these things. That is actually the direct highway to it.
So let me ask you something about arrival, because you're the only one that I know that talks specifically about arrival. And with the people that you work with, whether it's an athlete, whether it's a CEO or an entrepreneur, entertainment, whatever, how do you know that they're arriving?
Yeah, I don't need them to arrive. It's not about them. It's not about anyone. It's not about getting anyone to arrive. Because if it's about getting them to arrive, it'll be forced and it'll be manipulative and it'll be activity based and it'll be doings and prescriptions. So there can be no ulterior motive, no matter how, quote, positive or helpful the ulterior motive is, because nothing happens that way in life. Nature watches us. And it watches us with a very keen eye to see if we are trying to effect a certain outcome. But the greatest outcomes are the ones that last, and the ones that last are the ones that are natural. The ones that last are the ones that come about as a natural effect of a cause, that are organic. And organicness requires a lack of volition, a lack of a particular plan or outcome or ulterior motive. So I don't try to make anyone arrive. It is all about just diving into the truth, and however things happen, they happen. But I do say it's about arrival, not about the journey, because human beings are procrastinators, and they celebrate all things that have everything to do with not getting anywhere. And they love to create waiting rooms for years and years and years, and then they adorn the waiting room. And then they say, well, failure is great, and you should fail more. And it's all this stupid nonsense that everyone just falls into. It's all about the journey, not the destination. And it's simply it's never about the journey. That just sounds very nice. The only reason that it's being said, the only reason that comes about is because people get too caught up in the result. So then the reaction to that is to say, work on the process. Mm-hmm. People get too caught up in the when will I arrive. So then the reaction is, well, focus on the journey. So everything is all a disingenuous reaction.
Or you never arrive, right? That's what people talk about.
No, I don't believe so. Then why do it? If you're not going to arrive, why leave the house? It makes no sense. If you're never going to arrive, then you're always going to walk halfway to the wall. What's the point of walking at all then? Why are you going?
So isn't arrival in sports winning?
It's a fantastic question. And it depends upon the person. I don't know. That is not a universal question. For some people, arrival in professional sports is, I'm making 7 figures a year, traveling the world, playing sports. What could be better than that? Nothing wrong with that. So that's not everyone wants to be Tiger Woods. In fact, most don't. So that's a very personal question.
How do you get to the core of that when somebody asks you to work with them? Because I know that you're not interested in somebody who isn't interested in arriving. Are you able to get to the core of that with them to see if...
To see if what?
If they're serious about greatness, and if it's not